People are, if unfortunately you need to go into a care home, people are expected to sell their properties to raise the money. Well, you know, I personally don't think that's right. These people have spent all their lives paying taxes. You know, why should they be taxed again? There should be more provision for the elderly. There should be better pensions. There should be better healthcare provisions. There should be better carers. You know, these people have worked hard all their lives. They've paid all their dues in. They deserve a lot better out of it.
Thank you. Denzil.
I know that our party is in favour of a cross-party group to look at, for example, personal care for the elderly, because at the moment the cost of funding that is going to be enormous. So I think that there is a lot of scope for cross-party cooperation on this issue after this election, especially in a balanced parliament, so that at least we're looking at the issues and treating the sensitivities very carefully. And we need to have widespread consultation with all stakeholders on this particular issue. We cannot afford everything. We have to ensure that the most vulnerable people who are going to be affected are taken care of. And we need to look at long-term solutions, because one of the consequences of having one party dominate a government is that often you are always looking at the short term, but have long-term consequences that are not beneficial. So if the electorate do force a balanced parliament, you are then having forced cooperation on a range of issues, and this is one of them.
Thank you, James.
I used to be the pensions minister, and I took through the Pensions Act in 1995 with the agreement of the other major parties. And I agree with Denzil Coulson that we do need more cross-party agreement on this issue, and I agree with you. Because the point about pension arrangements is that if you're sensible, you'll start setting up your pension when you're 25, 26. The later you leave it, the harder it is to build up a decent amount for your old age. And that means that you're looking years, decades ahead when you're trying to cope with pension policy. And the problem now is that I think that people are not setting aside enough money to cope with their own old age. And I think that we have to look at the problem for the future as well as the huge problems that exist now. I agree that if we can possibly avoid having people sell their home in order to, when they go into care, that is something that we should do, which is why the Conservative Party has produced a policy which is to, for a premium of £8,000 when you retire at, say, 65, you'll then be guaranteed not to have to sell your home. All your care costs after that will be guaranteed. So that is one encouragement to do the right thing during your working life and look after yourself. And that is something that we're not doing enough of at the moment.
Thank you. Gareth.
Well, I think one of the things that we'll have to change is the expectation of ending your economic activity at the early age that people currently do expect them. I'm now economically inactive. I was made an offer I couldn't refuse last year, and I didn't refuse it. But it's a bit of a nonsense that I think I'm still capable of doing quite a few jobs. But I was fortunate in that I did plan ahead for my pension, so I can actually live on the pension that I've got. Maybe nonsensical that I can, maybe nonsensical that I was encouraged to. I say people ought to expect to be economically active much later. Where they are in a job where that is appropriate, I do recognise that I don't want 70-year-old airline pilots driving me around.
you like to come back to us?
Actually, yes, I do have a couple of remarks. One, the £8,000 when you retire. Now, £8,000, if each of us at retirement has to pay £8,000, that will not sustain us through the rest of our retirement. Everybody here may or may not know that the cost of healthcare, especially when you're admitted into a care home, are 10 times that per year. So what is that £8,000 going to do? Maybe a little bit of saving, etc. Second point, our houses. When we build up and when we pay for our pensions, we build that up. Some people will never be able to build that up. Some people will never be able to buy a house. But if I get to a stage that I have to go into a care home, what's the use of a house for me? It's only for my children. Well, maybe some people can actually afford to sell their house and pay for their care. But what about those people who are poor and have never been able to save because the costs of living are so high that they can't save? For these people, we need something to care for them.